Hi guys, welcome back. I hope everybody had a safe weekend. Today in our lesson, we are going to be discussing how we decompose our base 10 blocks. I know that last week we discussed how to compose them and what it meant that meant to create a number. Now for today's lesson, we're going to be decomposing, which means we are taking our number apart and creating a smaller number. Let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's open up to our table of contents, and the title for this section will be, let me get my pen. Decomposing base 10 blocks. And this is still part of chapter 1. All right, let's go to our next available page, which would be after composing with Grandpa. So we're turning to our next available page, and this one we're actually going to call it Decomposing with Grandma. And I'm gonna tell you in just a second why we're calling it Decomposing with Grandma. And this is still chapter 1. Okay, so remember last week I told you that my grandpa's the one who came up with the solution of composing our base 10 blocks using his special glue to be able to count. Quicker and easier. Well, he ran into a problem with my grandma one time when my grandma needed only to represent the number 6. And all my grandpa had was a rod. So him and my grandma got together and they discussed, oh, okay, well, I only need 6 units. So what could I do to get just 6? Well, that's where he came up with the solution. Since he composed them, he said, if I can put the ones together to make a rod, I might be able to take them apart. So that's where he came up with the word decompose. So he decomposed his rod into his units. Now, if you look back at your notes, you see that it takes 10 ones to make 1 rod. Well, that's exactly what happened, and that's why I'm calling it Decomposing with Grandma. Now, our first block that we are going to start with, I'm going to try to use the same color. Okay, so the first block that we're going to start with, 1 cube. Now, remember that 1 cube has the value of 1,000. So this is that big block, the big cube that has the value of 1,000. Now we're gonna see how we can decompose it if we don't need the 1,000. Now remember, if we flip to the front, it tells us right here, how many flats make a cube? Well, just like we took these 10 flats and composed our cube, we can decompose our cube. Now remember, you draw a square, a dot in the middle, use it as a corner, connect the corners, and this is your cube. So if we decompose this cube, 1 cube is equal to 10 flats. And this cube has the value of 1,000, and it decomposes to 10 flats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to draw another right here. 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to count this by 100 because that is the value. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. So 1 cube decomposes to 10 flats, which still has the value of 1,000. So if we only needed to represent 600, I would only need 600s and not my entire cube. Now the next block that they noticed that he also composed, but sometimes we're not going to need it all, is our rods. So we're going to do 1 flat is equal to, so let me get my flat and let's see what it's equal to. Let's go ahead, let's count how many how many rods we used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we decompose this flat, we can decompose it into our rods, and right now we just counted it and saw that it took 10 rods to make 1 flat. So 1 flat is equal to 10 rods. So I'm going to draw it right here. Here's my flat. And this decomposes to, and let me do my 10 rods. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So this is the value of 100, just as this flat is the value of 100. Now, another block that my grandpa composed, which now we're going to go back and we're going to decompose, is our rod. So I'm going to write right here, 1 rod is equal to, and what do we think that this is going to decompose to? Remember, we talked about it at the beginning. This unit, if we have enough, can compose a rod. So let's see, let's count how many units it took to compose the rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1 rod is equal to 10 units. Let's go ahead and draw our rod. And it decomposes to my 10 units. Now, I want you to pay attention to the size that I drew these in. Look at how small I drew these units compared to the flats. That's how we're going to be able to tell the difference. Look at the way that we draw them. Just like this unit is a whole lot smaller than our flat. So when we're drawing them in this form, always remember that the ones are always going to be smaller. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the value of these 10 units is 10, and the value of this rod is also 10. Now, let me go ahead and tell you what it means to decompose. So to decompose, means to break apart a number into smaller parts. And that's what it means to decompose a number. All right, guys, so that is how we decompose our base 10 blocks using our composing method. So your activity for today, just like last week, we made an anchor chart for composing numbers. So if you see, I have mine back there. Composing numbers, you're going to make yours for decomposing numbers. So you see, I did the same thing. I remember in our notebooks, we did our simple, easy, quick drawings. Well, in this anchor chart, remember, we want to use our more detailed drawings. So you see, I labeled it, drew my arrow, what it decomposed to. Same thing right here. Remember, use lots of colors. If you don't have it, that's totally okay. And I will see you tomorrow.